Do you like roguelikes? Do you like Borderlands? Do you like having so many damage numbers on your screen that they virtually lose all purpose? If the answer is yes, then Roboquest is the game for you. Roboquest is an FPS roguelike developed by Rise Up Studios that released not too long ago in early access. And I know what comes to your mind when you hear early access, but stay with me, because Roboquest manages to be different than most early access titles, and I'll get into why later in the video. But first, let's address what makes this game so damn good. In Roboquest, you play as the Guardian, a robot built by a kid named Max, and your mission is to, save humanity? There isn't much lore yet, so I can't elaborate on it further. But your journey will take you to a very nice looking cel shaded world with comic book feel all over the place. We got the cel shading, the comic book cutscenes, even the gun sounds are turned into onomatopoeias. Fuck, I hate this word. But you get what I'm saying. How cool is that? Look at that. But it is not enough to look cool. Does it play cool? And that sounded better in my head. But thankfully, the answer to that stupid question is a resounding yes. The game hooked me from the very first run. Everything looks and feels good. Every weapon delivers dopamine with every pull of the trigger. And after every death, you just want to go again. If you've been around the block regarding roguelikes, you're probably drawing parallels between Roboquest and Gunfire Reborn from the background gameplay. And yes, they are very similar, but Roboquest has that polish, that feel, that Gunfire lacks. And also, it's a little bit less, But enough with the surface level explanations. What's in this game anyways? The game consists of shooting your way through levels and acquiring items off of chests and perks from leveling up. Pretty run of the mill. But don't let that fool you. You start your run in a desert, in the outskirts of the futuristic city of Haven 8, with the intention of entering it. You go through lots of different places, like ruins of a forgotten city, an abandoned quarry, a field, and even a water park, also known as Hell, literal hell. Don't go to the water park. Most levels have a corrupted room, which contains a parkour challenge that gets progressively more difficult, and a chest at the end, which gives you a weapon, some power cores, which is a currency that can be used to buy weapons and upgrades in safe areas, and wrenches, which is another currency that I'll be talking about later. At the end of each level, you're awarded a rating, from D to S, based on your completion time and the amount of XP you acquired, and you're awarded power cores and wrenches according to the rating. Your path to Haven 8 is blocked by hundreds of not-so-friendly robots that come in several different flavors, ranging from these little balls of hatred to regular-sized robots and drones and turrets, to the Goliaths, which act as mini-bosses, and yes, this Hunkameto is trying to punch my teeth in. And finally, at the top of the food chain, there's the bosses. In the current version of the game, there are 3 bosses per run and 8 total possible bosses. There isn't a final boss yet, but we do get a lot to play with. And to be able to kill all of those robots, you'll need weapons, and weapons you have. With a current arsenal of 65 weapons of all types, shapes, and sizes, all of them can appear in 5 different rarities, and a lot of different modifiers are applied to them, which adds a lot of variety to the arsenal. The guns come in a different level depending on how far in the run you've got them, but if you find a gun that you like really early on, you can level them up in one of the merchants. But having the guns is not enough. You'll have to move, and boy, how you'll have to move. Standing still is a death sentence 99% of the times, which makes the gameplay of Roboquest akin to Modern Doom. And just like Modern Doom, the soundtrack does not disappoint. You'll be jamming to electronic beats as you turn the Silicon Valley in just a regular valley. Why is it that all French people know how to make fire electronic music? Eventually in your run, you'll find a safe area. They appear in the beginning and midpoint of levels and before every boss fight. They always contain a healing bot, an item chest, and a child that is most definitely in grave danger by being here. But you also get 1 to 3 merchants depending on your luck. One of them sells you weapons, one of them sells you items and upgrades, and the last one is able to level up your weapons and reroll their modifiers. Finding those safe rooms is a breath of fresh air, since you can heal, upgrade, and modify your build. And oh boy, there's still more to talk about. The game has 5 playable classes, 4 of them being unlocked by completely relatively simple challenges. Each class has a primary and a secondary skill, along with class-specific perks that you'll get by leveling up. You start the game with the Guardian, which has a melee attack and an invulnerability shield that lasts 3 seconds, and honestly, it's fucking dog shit. His perks are bad, his main skill is underwhelming, and his secondary skill is straight up useless after the first level. He's like Internet Explorer when you first install Windows. It's just a method you use to get something better. And the first something better you will unlock is probably the Recon, which is unlocked by killing a boss for the first time. The Recon can, well, do this. Yeah, Recon is absolutely broken at the moment. Its focus is on melee damage and dashing around, and his class perks are just absolutely bonkers. He's absolutely the best class in the game and will probably get toned down eventually. Next up on the roster is the Commando, which you unlock by killing 1,000 enemies. Its primary skill is a homing missile and its secondary skill is a shotgun blast. Overall, it's a pretty fun class with decent enough perks. It's nothing too crazy like our previous edgelord friend over there. As a reward for finding the not so well hidden javelin on the first map, you get the Ranger, which is the sniper focus class, and boy, this one is a blast to play. You have javelins that you can throw and pick back up, and you can become invisible and spawn a decoy to attract enemies. And boy, those perks. If you build right, this robot can become a menace with the elite sniper. Look at this. And last but not least, there's the Engineer, my favorite class. Unlocked by getting base camp to level 4, he has 2 drones that can damage enemies and soak up aggro, but the drones are only part of what makes this class so good. With the exception of Recon, Engineer has the best perks in my opinion. One of his perks is literally the entire Guardian shield ability in a perk. Talk about power creep. If you manage to get the right build going with Engineer, you're just gonna melt anything in your way. But what good is all of that if it doesn't feel good? Well, no worries, because Rise Up hits it out of the park with the game feel. Every weapon feels good, and most of them feel amazing. From the sound, to the animation, to the automatopoeias, man, I fucking hate this word, holy shit. But regardless, the dopamine release I get when I get a crit with the elite sniper is out of this world. You might notice I mentioned something called the base camp a couple of paragraphs ago. That's the place you'll start a run from and the place you'll come back to after you win or lose a run. Here, you'll be able to access most of the extra features, like the class selector, which is self-explanatory, and the difficulty selector, in which you can choose how much you're willing to suffer, and the ceiling is quite high. Because after finishing the game once, you unlock the Heroes difficulty, which goes up to Heroes plus 6. With every subsequent level unlocking when you beat the previous one and becoming even harder. There's also the upgrade panel, which again should be familiar to anyone that played Gunfire Reborn. It consists of permanent upgrades to your character and the run itself, providing you with more item options, more items in general, more survivability, and altering the run itself, making it so merchants are more frequent and give you higher quality items. After you unlock a certain amount of upgrades in a level, you unlock the next one. This makes it so every run has some permanent progress attached to it. And also, as a cherry on top, whenever you level up from a different tier in the upgrade shop, you get a new visual for your base camp. It gets more and more sophisticated and less rickety, which is a very nice touch. From the upgrade panel, you can also unlock gadgets, which you can equip at the class selector. Gadgets are items that give you different bonuses, such as more armor, the ability to triple jump, or an extra weapon slot. The gameplay variety that gives you is amazing for a game that hasn't even fully released yet. And lastly, at the base camp, there's the multiplayer menu, because yes, you can enjoy all of this that I mentioned with a friend, and I can't recommend it enough. It's a fucking blast. Now, for the part I mentioned at the beginning of the video, this game is still in development. Several levels and areas are yet to be added and have this under construction sign on them. But different from most early access experiences, with Roboquest I feel like I'm helping to build the game. You might have noticed this little text at the top of the gameplay footage in the background. By pressing F10, you can instantly send feedback to the developers about anything you want, positive, negative, or a bug report. They credit people that found out bugs in their update notes, and the developers also hang around most of the subreddits dedicated to the game. It's really nice to be a part of the development, and I can only see this game getting better. The term early access may come with a sour taste for those who got conned out of their money, but I feel like the guys at Rise Up really want to make us a part of the game through our feedback and our ideas. If I had to complain about something in this game, it would be the fact that the game becomes way too consistent for a roguelike when you have all of the upgrades. I can almost always get the exact build I want, because the upgrades give me more choices in everything. But this will probably get fixed whenever we get more items and perks with the new update. And that's it, that's Roboquest. I recommend this game for anyone that enjoyed the premise. It's even better to buy it now because the price may increase when they eventually release 1.0, which has been confirmed to be the next big update coming. So go ahead and support these beautiful French developers by buying this game, that even in its incomplete state manages to outdo many big developers.